المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Today بإذن الله تعالى يوم الأربعاء Wednesday, the 9th of Shawwal 1424 Hijri, the 3rd of December 2003. We come together again, inshaAllah ta'ala, to study the monumental work of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Al-Aqidah, Al-Wasittiyah, explained by the great Imam and Shaykh Abu Abdullah Muhammad bin Salih Al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah. This is the 15th lesson. There are 15 tapes available after this today, inshaAllah ta'ala, on this issue. And I say this to say that I see some new faces. And the point of being that we have studied some principles that those individuals need to be armed with in going into the study of this book. And if you don't have those principles, you may become confused about the issue or not have a solid foundation. For the area that we're going into now is a very serious area in Aqidah, in our belief in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Very serious area. And it is that area which composes most of the book. And that is the area of the Asma' wa Sifat. Tawheed Allah, the oneness of Allah in His Asma' wa Sifat, in His names and His qualities. This is something that a lot of people have been confused in regarding the issue. But Ahl al-Haq, Ahl al-Athar, those upon the way to Salaf, those upon the Sabil al-Mu'mineen, the path of the believers, they are upon clarity upon this issue, and there's nothing that is unclear to them regarding this issue. And this will be the case as long as the individual sticks to the qawa'id, to the dawabit, to the principles that have been laid down from kitab and from sunnah and from the salaf salih and from the ulama, generation after generation, in this area and other areas, in the areas of Aqidah and also in the areas of Minhaj. So this is an issue that if one sticks to the principles, one will be upon clarity. And he who misses the principle or mixes between the principles and doesn't have an understanding of it, this is the one that we fear for him, that he will not understand the issue, and there will be a certain amount of confusion in his head and confusion in his belief. Particularly, as we said, if you've never studied a book dealing with this issue, or never sat in circles dealing with this issue of the names and qualities of Allah Ta'ala from a reputable scholar, a book by a reputable scholar relayed to you, tape translated by a reputable scholar relayed to you, circles dealing with the principles that the reputable scholars and the upright scholars have placed and vouchsafed or delivered to the ummah to save them from falsehood and from deviation. If you never sit in those circles, you might not be clear on those issues as we speak. Nevertheless, we are now, inshaAllah ta'ala, at the area, because we've covered, mashallah, a good portion of where the Sheikh started. We're now where he says, وَالْإِيمَانُ بِاللَّهِ الإيمان بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه وبما وصفه به رسوله محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Belief in Allah. ومن الإيمان بالله, and from belief in Allah, الإيمان بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه, to believe in how Allah Ta'ala described Himself in His book. وبما وصفه به رسوله محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, and how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam described Allah in the authentic Sunnah. Shaykh ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah explains this. His statement, وَمِنَ الْإِيمَانِ, from Iman, this is to let you know, he says, called, it's in Arabic, min here for taba'id. And like I said before, we might not have the opportunity nor the intention to go into many of the lughawi points of the mashayikh, but we're already getting complaints from some brothers that these classes may be too heavy. I, for one, believe that these classes are relevant and are needed, and if they're heavy upon someone, it's because that individual has been lazy regarding their study habits and their understanding of trying to get these issues together Islamically and trying to understand the Kitab and Sunnah and the way to Salaf Salih. This is the only one that it should be something heavy on. It's a very easy subject, inshallah ta'ala. We're not asking everybody to get their mind around certain terms. People are on different levels. Some people will understand and will have fahm and will have understanding of terms, and they can relate it back to you in that regard. If we pick out a particular group, Mu'tazila or Rafida or the Asha'ira or Jahmiyyah, they'll recall this. Some people won't recall any of that, and they may even get some of the issues mixed up. So we're asking for those individuals to get the zubda, as they call it, the butter of the situation. To get as Ibn Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah used to say, the maqsood. Al-maqsood, what is meant, what is intended. And then walk away with that. At least you're upon soundness and upon clarity regarding the issue. At least you're upon soundness and upon clarity regarding the issue. But for those brothers who have a high desire and high goals for themselves, they're not, they don't like this thing of being on the same level of Islam that they were upon yesterday. They want to progress each and every day. They want to become closer to Allah Ta'ala. They want to become someone who's more knowledgeable regarding Allah Ta'ala. More knowledgeable regarding Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. More knowledgeable regarding Islam as a deen. They want to grow. They want to be better each time, each day. For these individuals, we hope for them that they will take notes and they will listen to the tapes and they will benefit bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. As long as one is mukhlis, sincere, Allah Ta'ala will guide him, will set him aright. So, and the matter of it's heavy or not heavy, sometimes, all of the message is heavy. All of the message is heavy. Don't think that any matter is light. As Imam Malik said, rahimahullah said, none of this matter is light. Did you not hear that Allah revealed to the Prophet Islam, verily I will reveal to you a heavy message. A heavy statement. So all of the deen is heavy. Don't think we're getting too heavy. We're not getting heavy enough. And we have to have higher goals, and we have to expand our horizons, particularly in regards to how we understand the deen of Allah Ta'ala. You don't see these same brothers shying away from computer knowledge. They know all the latest things regarding that. Not a problem for them in that area. So this is how it should be regarding, more so it should be regarding the deen of Allah Ta'ala. If there's something that is not understood, then raise your hand and say, hey, I didn't understand that particular point. And we'll go over it again, inshallah. If it's still not understandable, you ask again. You try to explain another way, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Break it down another way. If it's still something that you don't understand, then upon you is to get up in the middle of the night and make dua to Allah Ta'ala. Like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah used to do when he would read hundreds of tafsir. Hundreds of tafsirs, when he would come across something he didn't understand, he would say, oh Allah, who taught Ibrahim, and oh Allah, who granted the understanding to Sulaiman, teach me and grant me understanding. Take it to Allah Ta'ala. And as our Prophet alayhi salam used to do in matters that the people differed in Qiyam, in the night prayer, what would he do? Oh Allah, Lord of Mikael, Jibreel, Israfil, Mikael, right? Guide me to that which the serpents differ in. To the end of the dua. So this is what you mean. The fahm and understanding is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. If something you don't understand, then jayyid. Take it to Allah Ta'ala after you have asked and questioned and tried, or while you are asking. You can do them simultaneously. Rabbi zidni ilman. Allahumma Rabbi zidni ilman. Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ said that. There's no reason for one to be confused. And don't be shy about asking. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So, from Iman, from belief in Allah, he says from belief in Allah, because we mentioned that belief in Allah has 4 matters. What are they? The existence of Allah. He said the lordship of Allah, the names and qualities of Allah. The what? You said Rububiyyah already, right? Uluhiyyah first. Tawheed al-Ibadah uluhiyyah. The fact that only Allah Ta'ala alone should be worshipped. Is he right in this regard? Everyone agrees. Jayyid. So that's why he said min al-Iman. And from Iman. This means, in the Arabic they call it al-Tab'id. It means that you're taking a portion of something. You're saying this is from this. So from Iman, or out of these 4 aspects, one of the matters that you must believe in, or one type of Iman you must have in this regard, is Iman in the names and qualities of Allah. Iman in what Allah, how Allah has described Himself, or what Allah has described Himself with in the Quran, and what the Prophet has described Allah with in the authentic Sunnah.
قوله بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه. He said what he described himself with in his book. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said, ينبغي أن يقال, it's more befitting probably to say what he has named himself with, better than what he has described himself, or the qualities that he has mentioned regarding himself, what he has named himself. But the author, who's the author here? Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, mentioned sifa, qualities, either because there's no name except that it has a quality attached to it. It's not hard to understand. Someone who is all knowledgeable has the quality of what? Having knowledge, right? Like that. Or because the people didn't differ much regarding the asma, the names. But what they really differed with was regarding the qualities. And he said, asma khilaf, the khilaf fil asma is da'if, weak. No one denied the names of Allah except the ghulat, the extreme, al-Jahmiyyah wal-Mu'tazila. Now, we are going to come across in our study, and we've already done it in the previous 14 lessons, of certain groups of Ahl al-Bid'ah. They have their names, they have their origins, they have their connection to certain people, individuals throughout history. This is something known, ma'ruf. And we have went over them. But we're asking the brothers to bear with us, inshallah ta'ala. Meaning from the standpoint, if you can remember the Jahmiyyah, then jayyid. If you can remember the Ash'ariyah, then jayyid. If you can remember Mu'tazila, then jayyid. But if you cannot remember all of this, at least remember that one thing gathers between all of them. And that is that they deny some or all of the names and qualities of Allah. That's the main thing that connects these groups, whatever their name may be, whoever they are following together, that they have denied or rejected or gave false interpretation to or played with what? The names and qualities of Allah. They have one name for them, which if you can memorize, it would be of benefit, and that is Mu'attilah. Mu'attilah. They are the deniers or rejectors of the names and qualities of Allah. Nevertheless, you will hear these groups mentioned. So he said none except extreme Jahmiyyah and Mu'tazila deny the names of Allah. And there are some Mu'tazila who affirm the names. And the Ash'ariyah al-Maturidiyya yuthbituna al-asma', and they confirm the names, but they differ with Ahlul Sunnah regarding most of the qualities. Now, maybe in the future, I don't know, maybe we'll give out a handout on these groups, something just, if it's nothing, we might even find in the glossary of some of our brothers' books who have translated these issues already. Any book of Aqidah or something, you might go to the back of it and find in the glossary the term for the Ash'ariyah, they are the followers of Abu Hassan Ash'ari, and so on and so forth, when he was upon that before he repented from that, and they are Kate wa Kate wa Kate. Mu'tazila are like this. They are the ones who follow Wasit ibn Atta and Kate wa Kate wa Kate. Jahmiyyah are those who follow Jahm bin Safwan, and they are like this, right? So if someone has the energy to look at that and come across those names and some brief summary about those groups. It would probably be a benefit for those brothers who have not been in the habit of attending such as these classes or not aware of the various groups that exist. فَنَحْنُ الْآنَ نَقُولُ. He said, now we say, why did the mu'allaf, the author, say, مَا وَصَفَ اللَّهَ بِهِ نَفْسِهِ, what Allah has described himself? We say for two reasons. Because, one, is because every name includes a quality. Or the other reason, that the people didn't differ much about the names, but they differed about the qualities. And those who differed about the names, from those who ascribed themselves to Islam, were few. Very few. This is a point to understand. Now he said, في كتابه, in his book. كتابه means what? يعني al-Qur'an. Al-Qur'an. As Allah described himself in the Qur'an. وَسَمَاهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى كِتَابًا. Allah called it a book. And he called it a book because it's maktub, it's written. And it's written في اللوح المحفوظ, in a preserved tablet. What maktub, written. في صحف التي بأيدي سفر الكرام البررة. Written in the book that is the suhuf, or scrolls that is with the angels. ومكتوب كذلك بين الناس. It's also written by the people. They write it in their masahif. They print it in their masahif. فهو kitab. It is a book with the meaning that it has been written. That is what? The Quran. And it's connected to Allah. Why? Because it is kalam. Kalamuhu, his speech. Kalamuhu subhanahu wa ta'ala. فهذا Quran, this Quran, kalamullah, is the speech of Allah. تكلم به حقيقة. And he spoke with it in reality. It's his words. فكل حرف منه. Every letter is from him. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن الله كتكلم به. Every letter that is in the Quran, Allah tabarak ta'ala what? Spoke it. Spoke it. Now, and this is what we have taken, just this statement, this jumla, from Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And the statement once again is, and from iman, or belief in Allah, is a belief in, to believe in how Allah, with what Allah has described himself with in his book, and what the Prophet ﷺ has described Allah with in authentic sunnah. What the Prophet ﷺ has described Allah with, right? He said this contains certain matters or factors we need to know. First matter, that belief in Allah, al-iman bi wasafihi nafsuh, that when we say from belief in Allah is a belief in how he has described himself, how do we understand that? What is the aspect? What is the matter regarding this? That is because iman billah, the reason he says from iman or from faith is this, includes the names of Allah Ta'ala and his qualities. The essence of Allah, the actual self of Allah Ta'ala has names and has qualities. Names and qualities. Now listen to this point, brothers. When anyone doesn't understand it, ask. Ask. The existence of that, self, mujarrida, that doesn't have names or any qualities, rather, or doesn't have any qualities, is amra mustahil. It's something that is what? Impossible. Something that exists without any quality is amra what? Mustahil. Impossible. Right? فلا يمكن أن توجد ذات مجردة عن أوصاف أبدا. You will not have anything that exists or any matter that exists, put it that way, that does not have qualities. The existence of a matter, something that exists that doesn't have awsaf, qualities, is something impossible and will never happen. Right? Now you can come up with in your mind, Ibn Taymiyyah says, I like this point. You can come up within your mind, you can imagine something in your mind that doesn't have any qualities. But you coming up with that in your imagination, in your mind, doesn't make it reality. Doesn't make it reality. لِنَّ مَفْرُودٌ لَيْسَ كَالْمَشْهُودِ. That which you're able to come within your mind is not like that which you are actually able to witness in this part of reality. You following them so far? جيد. Now, فَلَا يُوجَدْ فِي الْخَارِجِ. Nothing exists out in the open, خارج, outside of your mind. أي في الواقع, in reality, المشاهد, that you can see. ذات ليس لها صفات أبدا. Something that doesn't have qualities at all. Doesn't exist. It does not exist. Now listen to this example. Your mind can, for instance, come up with that there's something that has 1,000 eyes. And for each 1,000 eyes, there's 1,000 black pupils in it. And there's 1,000 parts of the whiteness of the eye. And 1,000 legs. And for each 1,000 legs, there's 1,000 feet. And for each 1,000 feet, there's 1,000 fingernails or toenails. And for each of them, there's a million strains of hair. And in each strain of hair, there are a million more. And like this. This you can have and imagine in your mind, but it does not have any what? Reality. لكن الشيء الواقع, that which is reality, لا يمكن, is not possible. أن يوجد شيء بدون صفة. That there exists anything without qualities. لهذا, and because of this, كان الإيمان بصفة الله من إيمان بالله. Because of this, to believe in the qualities of Allah is from belief in Allah. To believe in the qualities of Allah is from belief in Allah. لو لم يكن, if it was not from the qualities of Allah except that He exists, and His existence is obligatory, necessary existence, and this is what everybody agrees upon, فَلَا بُودَ أَن يَكُنْ لَهُ صِفَةٌ, then there's no doubt that He must have qualities. This is nothing but the quality of existence. You got it? Pay attention. So this is the first issue. That which exists has qualities. And Allah Ta'ala exists, and His existence is a necessity, as they call wajib al-wujud. So therefore Allah Ta'ala has qualities which we must believe in. Jayyid. Because there's nothing that exists except that it has qualities. Qualities. Next matter. إن صفات الله عز وجل, they're the qualities of Allah Ta'ala, من الأمور الغيبية, are from the matters of the unseen. This is very important, brothers. That the qualities of Allah Ta'ala are from the matters of the unseen. والواجب على الإنسان, and it's obligatory upon every person. نحو الأمور الغيبية, regarding matters of the unseen. This is a principle He's given us. Not only in Asma Sifat, but in any matter dealing with the unseen. It's obligatory upon the person what? أن يؤمن بها على ما جاءت, to believe in it as it has come to us. To believe in it as it has come to us. دون أن يرجع إلى شيء سواء النصوص, without going back to anything else other than the text. Text from what? Quran, or text from the Sunnah. You have his point. That Sifatullah, the qualities of Allah, are from the matters of the unseen. Ghaibiyah. And it's upon the individual when it comes to matters of the unseen is to believe in them as they have come to us, as they have been related to us. Right? And not to go back or refer to anything regarding these matters of the unseen except nusus. Nusus. A text from Quran or text from Sunnah. This point is very important For those who have went astray in these matters have went to other than the nusus and have not understand the matter of a taslim, submission, and have not understood the matter of believing in that which comes to you regarding matters unseen as they came. قال Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Imam Ahmad says, do not describe Allah except in a manner which he has described himself, or in a manner which the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has described him. Do not go beyond the Quran wal Hadith. قال Imam Ahmad, do not describe Allah except in a manner which he has described himself, or the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has described him, and do not go beyond Quran or Hadith. One more time. قال Imam Ahmad rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah, do not describe Allah except with that which he has described himself with, or with that which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described him. Do not go beyond Quran wal Hadith. Yani, he means that we don't describe Allah ta'ala except with how Allah has described himself in his book, or upon the tongue of his messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If it didn't come from the book of Allah, and it wasn't upon the tongue of the messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam conveyed by him, we don't deal with it. We don't go into it. And as we get further on, we'll understand this issue more. ويدل على ذلك, evidence of this is in Quran, the book of Allah, and the aql, the intellect. Both of these give you evidence of what has just been stated. That don't you dare describe Allah except in the manner in which he has described himself in his book. And don't you dare describe Allah or give qualities or names of Allah except in the manner in which the Prophet ﷺ described them in the authentic sunnah. Evidence for this, so that it's understood that no one is talking out of hand, talking out of their hat, talking off the cuff, is evidence from Quran and the aql. Quran and the aql. ففي Quran, in the Quran, the book of Allah, يقول الله عز وجل, Allah عز وجل says, قل إنما حرم ربي الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن. Very my Lord have forbidden lewd and filthy acts, that which is apparent and that which is hidden. والإثم وبقي بغير الحق, and sin and transgression without wherein that which is not right or which is not correct. And بغير الحق, without a right. Transgression without a right. وأن تشركوا بالله ما لم ينزل به سلطانا, and that you ascribe to Allah that which he has sent down no authority. وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون, and that you say about Allah that which you do not know. That's the evidence. And that you say about Allah that which you do not know. So the A'raf, verse 33. فَإِذَا وَصَفْتَ اللَّهِ, if you describe Allah بِصِفَةٍ, with a quality in which Allah did not name himself or describe himself with, فَقَدْ قُلْتُ عَلَيْهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمْ, you said about him that which you did not know. وَهَذَا مُحَرَّمٌ, and this is haram with this text. The nas of Quran, with this text from Quran. That action that you would have done would be haram by this, because you have what? تَقُولُ عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, you said about Allah that which you did not know. So he who describes Allah Ta'ala with a quality or a name, other than that which is in the book of Allah Ta'ala, and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has spoken about Allah without knowledge and has fallen to that which is haram. Not something light. It's haram. ويقول الله عز وجل, Allah عز وجل states, ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم, don't say that which you have no knowledge of. إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد, very the hearing and the sight and the heart, كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا, you'll be asked about all of that. So this Surah, verse 36. So where we describe Allah Ta'ala in a manner in which he did not describe himself, with something that he did not describe himself with, we would have spoken about that which we have no knowledge, and we will fall into that which Allah Ta'ala has forbidden. Surah Araf verse 33, Surah Isra verse 36 knocks down that whole issue of speaking about names and qualities of Allah Ta'ala without a text from Quran and Sunnah. The ones who want to speak from their head, speak from their imagination, speak from what they feel, knocks that all down. They have fallen to that which is haram. Amma dalil al-aqli, intellectual evidence, that is that the sifat Allah Azza wa Jal, the qualities of Allah Azza wa Jal, min umur ghaybiyah, are from matters of the unseen. And there's no way for anyone to know with his intellect the matters of the unseen. Every Muslim knows that. Huh? Every Muslim knows that. The ghaib is with Allah Ta'ala, and what he chooses to reveal from of it upon the messengers, who the last of the messengers and the prophets is Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There is no manner of the aql, of the reasoning, converging or going up on or obtaining knowledge of the unseen. I mean, what? How is it unseen if everybody can see it? Huh? Like they used to say about the Sufis. The Sufis say that their awliya read the Lawh al-Mahfuz, read the preserved tablet. One of the Mashaykh said, so it's Mahfuz from who? It's protected from who then? If you can look into it. No one knows the ghaib but Allah Ta'ala. So Dalil Aqli speaks loudly and says clearly, if this is a matter of the unseen, and there's no means of the intellect getting or achieving knowledge of the unseen, then we cannot describe Allah Ta'ala except with what he has described himself with, what he has told us. We can't know about the how of it. We can't ascertain and affirm anything except what he has conveyed, because we're cut off from it totally because it is unseen. It's ghaib. لأن ذلك غير ممكن. It is impossible. It is impossible. Listen to what he says. I like this point. نحن الآن, we right now, لا ندرك ما وصف الله به نعيم الجنة. We don't have a concept and a real understanding of what how Allah has described the bliss of the gardens, the bliss of Jannah. من حيث, in the sense of reality. Even though Jannah is what? Makhluk. It's a creature. It's created by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. في Jannah, in the Jannah, mashallah, there's faqihah, there's fruits, والنخل ورمان, pomegranate, and these type of things, surur, nice couches of repose to lay upon, wahur, beautiful women, right? But we don't realize the reality of these things. وَلَوْ قِيلَ, if one said to you, describe Jannah to me, in reality. Describe it in reality to me. لَا نَسْتَطِيعُ, not able to. I can tell you how the couches are, whatever, by, such inches and such, right? And got this green, this and this, but the green is a sort of, no, come on, Akhi. None of us is able to do that, right? لِقَوْلِ تَعَالَى, because Allah has already stated the matter and made it very clear. فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. No soul knows what is hidden. That's part of the light of Jannah. What is hidden? What is being stored for that soul? What is hidden? Of the things that bring enjoyment to the eyes. Jaza'un, as a reward. بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, for what they used to do. Surah Sajdah, verse 17. فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ. No soul knows. Right? Hidden. And based on the statement of Allah Ta'ala, Hadith Qudsi, I have prepared for my righteous servants مَا لَا عَيْنٌ رَأَتْ, that which no eye has seen. ولا أذن سمعت. And no ear has heard. ولا خطر قلب البشر. And it has not, the imaginative thought of it has not even reached or come upon the heart of any man. That which no one has seen or heard or even imagined the beauty of, he has prepared, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what? The Jannah, which is makhluk, a creature. فإذا كان هذا في مخلوق, if this is the case with a creature, الذي وصف بصفات معلومة المعنى ولا تعلم حقيقتها فكيف خالق. If this is the case, follow this reasoning that the Sheikh is doing. It's beautiful. If this is the case with a creature, the Jannah, which has been described to us with descriptions. Didn't Waqiyah describe Jannah? Didn't Surah Rahman describe Jannah? Then almost every other verse, every time you go, I read throughout the Quran, describe Jannah. Did not the Prophet Islam describe Jannah? Describe the Jannah with ma'ani, with meanings, but not the haqiqah, the reality. So if this is a situation with the creatures, that we don't know reality of them, or the reality of that particular creature, even though it's been described to us explicitly in the Quran, and explicitly in the Sunnah, all we know is the meaning of it, not the reality, then what about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the Khaliq? Ya Ahl al-Tawheed, you like that? You like that? That's his way. مثال آخر, another example. الإنسان فيه روح. Every individual, every human being has a soul. He's not living illa biha. He don't live except that he has a soul. No sooner as that soul removed, he dies. لولا أن الروح في بدنه, if it was not from the ruh in his body, he would die. But he's not able to describe that soul that is within his very own body. لو قيل له, it was said to him, ما هذه الروح التي بك? What is the soul that is in you? Explain it. Break it down. Tell me about it. ما هي التي لو نزعت منك? Yani, what is it if it was pulled away from you? And if it was pulled away from you, you become a dead body. But if it was in you, you still live. He said, فَأَنْتَ الْإِنسان, you are a person. You have intelligence, you have understanding. Yani, let's look and let's think. We would not be able to describe, no matter how much we thought, the soul. And it's a creature. And it's within our very bodies. But we were not able to do what? Describe it. Yani, معناها قريب من, even though the Sheikh says it's close to you. في نفسه بين جنبيه, between your shoulders, yani within your body. And you can't give the truth regarding that, the reality regarding that. يعني شيء يرى, something that can be seen, the Sheikh says. The ruh. You agree with that? Something that can be seen. The ruh is something that can be seen. Yeah, by every one of us. Right now, and it's a good point. The Sheikh brings the hadith that all of us went across. Prophet ﷺ says, "In the ruh إذا قبض, when the soul is taken, تبعه البصر, the eyes follow it." Sahih? فإنسان يرى نفسه وهي مقبوضة, the person sees himself or the soul while it's taken. ولهذا تبقى العين مفتوحة عند الموت. That's why the eyes stay open when death comes. To shahid al-ruh, looking at the ruh, witnessing the ruh. وهي قد خرجت, it came out. تؤخذ هذه الروح, the soul has been taken, and then it's placed in a coffin. Then it's taken up to Allah Ta'ala. And with all of this, we're still not able to what? describe it. وَهِيَ بَيْنَ جَنْبَيْهِ, and it's within his body, between his shoulders. فَكَيْفَ يُحَاوَلْ, so how can you try? How can you have the audacity? How can you have the gumption? Describe the Rabb, the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Huh? بِأَمْرٍ لَمْ يَصِفْ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ, in a manner in which he did not describe himself. La Budi, then, it's necessary that we actualize the belief in affirming the names, or the qualities, rather, the qualities sifatillah, the qualities of Allah tabarak ta'ala. Another matter, and this is a point you should write. Those brothers who can write it, and those who can't can go back over the tape and the cassette tape and get some understanding on this issue. These are our qawaid and our principles, things that we should understand regarding this issue. Clears out a lot of misunderstanding, and when you read somewhere else or hear something else contrary to this, you'll be able to see it for what it is, foolishness and garbage, and the waswas of the whispering of shaitan. Third matter is that إِنَّنَا لَا نَصِفِ اللَّهِ, we don't describe Allah ta'ala بِمَا لَمْ يَصِفْ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ, with something that he did not describe himself with. وَدِلُّ ذَلِكَ أَيْضًا مِنْ السَّمْعِ وَالْعَقْلِ. You see, he goes on. ذَكَرْنَا مِنَ السَّمْعِ آيَتَيْنِ. Now what he means by sam' here, this is another thing you must understand. Sam' means revelation. Sam' means revelation. And sam' comes from hearing, of course. But when the scholars use it, and this is why it's important to understand in these areas, or any area that you're going to go into in the science of Islam, that you understand the terms of the scholars. And some might would think, except hearing, except what we found in the hearing. What does that mean? Right? But when you know the terminology of the scholars, then you can understand what they are saying. Another term they use for it is tawqif. Tawqif. This is another term that's used for revelation from Quran, regarding Quran and Sunnah. They say, well, it's in tawqif. Right? Like this. Or sama'. So here when he says, وَدَلِيلُ ذَلِكَ أَيْضًا مِنَ السَّمْعِ وَالْعَقْلِ. A sam', he tells you what sam' is. What is the sam'? Ayatain, 2 verses. 2 verses from where? Quran. So that means the Quran is what? Sam'. Don't get mixed up on the issue. It is just a manner of what? Describing or defining something. Right? They call it sam'. Amma min al-aql. And we just took those 2 ayat, the 2 ayat we took before. Lets us know that we can't describe Allah ta'ala without knowledge of what he has described himself with. We can't come up with our own, right? Or we'll be speaking without knowledge. We took that. فَقُلْنَا إِنَّ هَذَا أَمْرَ غَيْبِ. This is a matter which is unseen. لَا يُمْكِنْ تُرَاقَهُ. In other words, what the Sheikh is doing here at this point, he's just confirming what we just studied. Confirming what we just went over, studied. Fourth matter, and this is very important, the obligation of ijra' al-nusus, letting the text, or conveying the text, and accepting the text of what? Quran and Sunnah, al-warida fi kitab al-Sunnah, upon their apparent meaning, and not going beyond that. You with me? Text comes from Quran, or text comes from authentic Sunnah, you take that text, and you take it for its apparent meaning, its zahir, and you don't go beyond that. Mithal dhalik, example of that when Allah Ta'ala describes himself as having aynan, yani eyes. Yani, هل نقول مراد بالعين الرؤية لا حقيقة العين? Or when we say that Allah Ta'ala has an eye, do we say that Allah is بالعين رؤية لا حقيقة العين, is the sight but not the reality of an actual eye? Now, all of these nusus that are going to come past us now is going to affirm for Allah Ta'ala all of these qualities that Allah Ta'ala has mentioned for himself. Stop here and I say that now. Those brothers who have attended the lessons before understand the issue quite well, right? That whenever we come across a quality of Allah Ta'ala, we make sure that our hearts do not in any way go towards what is called tashbih, which is making Allah similar to his creatures, that what we hear of the names and qualities of Allah Ta'ala, they are absolute and totally for Him Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in a manner that befits His Majesty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I say this to give a small advertisement for those brothers who may not have sat in the and we have new people here. So on that type of level. So understand this. Huh? So when we come to this quality of the eye of Allah Ta'ala, right? We don't say, for instance, that we are it is a proving sight, but not the actual eye. You see the foolishness that these people go into. Ahlul Bidah. Alright? So this is why the Sheikh wants to say that you put it what? On its apparent. On its apparent. Take it on its surface. Right? لو قلنا ذلك, if we said that, akhi, when you see an eye in the Quran, akhi, or you see an eye in the Sunnah, akhi, it doesn't refer to the eye, it refers to sight. It doesn't refer to the actual eye. If we said this, we'll be describing Allah in a manner other than how He described Himself. Jayyid. We getting this? وَلِمَّا وَصَفَ اللَّهُ نَفْسُهُ بِأَنَّ لَهُ يَدَيْنِ. When Allah says He has two hands. بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُطَتَانِ. But his two hands are wide and outspread. لو قلنا, if we were to say, Allah Ta'ala really doesn't have a hand, but what He means is that He gives a lot of bounties, or spreads a lot of bounties upon His servants. If we say that, have we described Allah in a manner that He described Himself? No. Jayyid. So you guys recognize tahrif and recognize someone playing with the qualities of Allah Ta'ala. So this is a principle that is a must to understand, brothers. That which comes regarding Allah Ta'ala, from the qualities of Allah Ta'ala, nusus regarding these issues, the text in Quran and Sunnah, we take it up on its apparent meaning, and we don't go beyond it. We take it up on the apparent meaning, and we don't go beyond it. Mabad Khamis. Fifth matter he brings is that what the Mu'allaf Ibn Taymiyyah intended includes everything that Allah has described Himself with. So in the Sifat al-Dhatiyya, al-Ma'nawiyya, wa Khabariyya, wa Sifat al-Fi'liyya. We explain this. Somebody may say, man, that's too heavy. See, I told you Mr. Rus was heavy. These are just terms. Don't run away from terms, akhi. And you know that the emails that you get from advertising places that you want, you call that spam. You have no problem with that. Right? You have no problem with that, learning that type of stuff. But now we in this issue, brothers get a little shaky and nervous. Brothers used to memorize how much the earth weighed. Didn't have no problem with that. Yeah? Thought that was heavy knowledge. Telling somebody how much the earth weighed. Naam. Sifat al-Dhatiyya, Sifat al-Dhatiyya, he explains it. I mean, that is the essence of the actual self of Allah Ta'ala. Yani Sifat al-Dhatiyya, qualities of the essence of the self of Allah Ta'ala, are qualities that Allah Ta'ala has always had and will always have. Huh? Still has and will always have. And they are two types. In other words, Allah Ta'ala has qualities that He has always had and will always have. Part of His essence, itself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. For ma'nawiyya, those which we can conceptualize as, I would just leave it as ma'nawi. You understand when he says it. Al-haya, all living. Wal-ilm, knowledge. Wal-qudra, power. Wal-hikmah, wisdom. And anything similar to that. This is example. This is not all of them. This is an example. You see the general meaning when you talk about life, knowledge, ability, wisdom, right? You understand? It's ma'nawi. Right? It's ma'nawi. It is something that is part of His essence, and it's a concept you can understand, that He's all living, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's all wise, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jayyid? Was that hard? Well, khabariyya, here's another term actually. Khabariyya is that which comes from al-khabar, comes from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Stab in that regard. And it may be other, I mean, he may intend other than that, but these are the type of qualities that مثل اليدين, the two hands, والوجه, the face, والعينين, the two eyes, وما أشبه ذلك. That which we call, when we come talk about the creatures, we call them parts of the body. But that's when you talk about the creatures. When it comes to Allah, it's something what? Else. And I should say, basically, Khabariya are those qualities other than Ma'nawiyah, other than those that are part of the, or is fit into the Dhatiyah. We'll go into that further when we go on. Listen to this. He'll make it clear, inshaAllah ta'ala. If it's too heavy or you don't understand something, stop and ask. فالله تعالى لم يزل له يدان ووجه وعينان. Allah ta'ala has always had two hands, the face, and two eyes. He didn't get this, subhanahu wa ta'ala, after at one time not having it. In other words, there was never a time where Allah ta'ala did not have two hands, did not have two eyes, and did not have a face. So he's explaining it there, in a sense that the ma'nawi are those things that are not like physical qualities in the sense of yadayn or wajh wa aynayn, and they're more or less like all living, all hearing, and knowledge, wisdom, and like this. So this is one way of explaining it. What I'll try to do, inshallah ta'ala, in the next lecture that we have, which will be Friday, we'll specifically look up the terminology that Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, as well as the Sheikh is using, the ma'nawiyya khabariyya, and give some type of little either printout or some type of explanation of it so it's more clear. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. La ba'as, inshallah. Anyway, these qualities have never been away from Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. كما أن الله تعالى لم يزال حيا ولا يزال حيا لم يزال عالما ولا يزال عالما. Allah tabarak ta'ala has always been living and will always live, and always has always had knowledge and will always have knowledge, always has the ability, and it still has the ability, will always have the ability, وهكذا. In other words, the Sheikh wants to make clear so that I can, because he's going to repeat some matters. And these things were not something that were new, nor is it something that reoccurs. It was always there. In other words, his life is not something that was renewed or comes about in a renewal type thing, nor his hearing. No, all of these are qualities that have been there, as they say, since ever. What did you get from that? That they have always been there forever. But the creatures, they are that which have come into existence, in which Allah Ta'ala has created, and like this. For instance, and he gives an example, and like I say once more, if this is not clear to you, relay it, because the Sheikh, he does get into detail. But I don't think we should run from detail. I think if it's detail that we don't understand at this particular point in time, then we can understand it later, but at least let's give it its place and its position and hear it and understand it. I don't think any of this is any way hard. For instance, he says the hearing of Allah Ta'ala has always been there and has always been there, and will always be there, rather. But that which is heard can in fact be something new. For instance, you might right now listen to adhan right now. Alright? This doesn't mean that you just got new hearing, but that your hearing has already been there, but that which you are listening to regarding the adhan is something new. But from I've had hearing, he said, or we have had hearing since Allah Ta'ala created it within us, but that which we hear, or the different things we hear, are that which is new. وَهَذَا لَهُ أَثَرْ فِي الصِّفَاتِ. Like this. And I think the Sheikh is, in this case, even though we might not fully understand the issue of why he is going, or has placed this much detail, he's referring to some of the doubts that some of the Ahl al-Bidah have. And you will find these doubts written in various books of those books, like Aqidah, Tahawiyah, and others, that go into those issues that the innovators have. So sometimes he knocks down those issues in his discussion of other issues, and inshaAllah ta'ala, la ba's bihi. واصطلاح العلماء, you might want to write this. اصطلاح العلماء رحمه الله, the way the ulama have placed it, أن يسموها الصفات الذاتية. They call it the qualities of the essence of Allah. قال لإنها ملازمة للذات, because they are connected to the essence of Allah Ta'ala, and they have never been separated from Him. Okay, so that clears it up more for you, inshallah ta'ala. For sifat al-dhatiyya as of these two types. So both of these are from the sifat al-dhatiyya, the essence of Allah ta'ala. Also, maybe it will help also of those, as I said to brothers, to do some reading also along with these classes on certain books that have been there. One of the books that have been translated recently by Brother Musa Richardson is the Qawa'id al-Mufla regarding the names and qualities of Allah ta'ala. I think we have some in the book, in the bookstore. I don't know if we have some left, Abdurrahim. We have some left, inshallah ta'ala. You might get that. And these, it will basically mention some of these principles also. And don't buy the book and just put it on the shelf, you know, like brothers did with the book of Tawassul by Al-Albani. They just put it on the shelf, said it was too heavy for me, I can't go beyond this. We have to leave this type of foolishness and this type of laziness, you know. I mean, you know, Ahl al-Bid'ah, and we don't need them as examples, but they learn their bid'ah well, and they present their bid'ah well, and they spread their bid'ah well. And here we have the haqq. I mean, for the Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah to go into this much detail, this is something we should pay attention to, not become bothered with or, you know, yawn and scratch and what I don't really need to know that and so on and so forth. You don't know what you need to know. If you knew what you needed to know, you wouldn't have went through some of the things you have went through regarding your Islam. You know? So knowledge is of importance in this matter. If it appears, like I said, heavy to some, then inshallah ta'ala, we'll try to slow it down. Some people say, well, Abu Uwais sometimes speaks too quickly, you know, slow it down a little bit and this type of thing. They're used to somebody talking in a monotone, very, very slow voice and whatever, so that it can get to them, you know, and that type of thing. But everybody has their own way. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. وَالصِّفَاتِ فِعْلِيَّةِ. The sifat fi'liyah, sifat of the actions, the qualities of the actions. The actions here is sifat muta'alliq al-mashiyatillah. The qualities of the actions of Allah Ta'ala connected to the will of Allah. And there are two types. Sifat laha sabab ma'aloom, qualities which have a known reason, like the pleasure of Allah. For Allah Azza wa Jal, if He becomes pleased, if the reason behind becoming pleased is present there. Kama qala ta'ala, as Allah said in Surah Zumar, In takfuru fa inna Allah ghaniyyu ankum. If you disbelieve, Allah Ta'ala is not in need of you. وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرِ. And He's not pleased for His servants to be upon kufr. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَاهُ لَكُمْ. But if you are grateful, He is pleased with that for you. وَصِفَاتْ لَيْسَ لَهَا سَبَبٌ مَعْلُومٌ. Then there are qualities that don't have a necessary reason behind them, like, the ayat is Surah Zumar verse 7. النزول, the descending of Allah Ta'ala, إلى السماء الدنيا, to the سماء الدنيا, to the heavens of the dunya. حين يبقى ثلث الليل, when only a third portion of the night, and then the last third of the night is left, right? This we don't know the reason behind. But Allah becomes pleased when there's a reason what? To be pleased. Right? The sabab, the reason behind it is known. Right? In this case, وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا, if you're grateful, يَرْضَاهُ لَكُمْ, He is pleased with that. What is the reason that He's pleased? Because the servants were grateful. Right? If I ask you what is the reason that He descends, Allahu A'lam, we don't know. Right? So this is what He means by that. But this is sifat fi'liyah. These are what? Actions. Actions of Allah Ta'ala. Being pleased is an action of Allah Ta'ala. Descending, it's an action of Allah Ta'ala. Jayyid. So now He's telling us that the qualities are split in like this. That He, a part of His essence, right? That have always been there, will always be there. And He gave examples of that. All living, and He also, ilm, knowledge, hikmah, wisdom, all those type of qualities. And at the same time, two hands, two eyes, a face, like this. Those are dhatiyah, from His essence, right? And qualities that are actions that are connected to His mashi'ah. They are only connected to His will. Allah does them when He will. When He wills to do so, He does it. Jayyid. Okay. And then I some na'am. Na'am. No, it can be used. It can be used. It can be used for others. Yeah, just like the term shakhs, person. But we're talking about Allah Ta'ala at this point. No. And there are some sifat that are both. Part of the essence and stuff of Allah Ta'ala and part of His actions. Like kalam, speaking. It's fi'liyah, meaning that's connected to what? His will. It's an action. He does it when He wills to do so. And that is from the standpoint of each part or portion of the kalam. Not the asl of kalam itself. The root of kalam itself, or speech itself, is part of the essence of Allah Ta'ala. Because Allah Ta'ala has always had the quality of speaking and will always have the quality of speaking. لَكِنُّ يَتَكَلَّمْ بِمَا شَاءَ. He speaks with what He wills. مَا تَشَاء, when He wills, as when we get to the speech regarding the kalam Allah. Istilah ulama, once again, we're about to break off in a second, inshaAllah ta'ala. The terminology of the scholars, and you say hadith sifat fi'liyah. Call these qualities fi'liyah. So brothers, you have sifat dhatiyah and sifat fi'liyah. Sifat dhatiyah, sifat that is the essence of Allah Ta'ala and part of the self of Allah Ta'ala. And sifat fi'liyah connected to His actions, connected to His will. وَلَهَا أَدِلَّةٌ كَثِيرًا, and there's many evidences for this from Quran. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. And your Lord what? Ja'a. So the coming of Allah Ta'ala is what? Fi'liyah, from His actions. هَلْ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَن تَأْتِيَهُمْ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَوْ يَأْتِيَ رَبُّكَ. Once again, do they look for the time that the angels will come and Allah Ta'ala, your Lord, will come? رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. وَلَكِنْ كَرِهَ اللَّهُ أَنْ بِعَاثُهُمْ فَثَبَتَهُمْ. Yani Allah Ta'ala hated, and to the end of the ayah, that He hated something. كَرِهَ. أَنْ سَخِطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. Sakhit, which is hatred also. وَفِي عَذَابِهُمْ خَالِدُونَ. And in the punishment they will be there forever. All these are what? Actions. لَيْسَ فِي إِثْبَاتِهَا. There's nothing, if we affirm these qualities for Allah, of deficiency from any aspect. بَلْ هَذَا مِنْ كَمَالِهِ. But rather it's from the perfection of Allah Ta'ala. أَنْ يَكُونْ فَاعِلًا لِمَا يُرِيدُ. That He's able to do whatever He wills. We'll end it with this statement. أُولَٰئِكَ الْقَوْمُ. Those people, al-muharrifun, those who deviate in this matter, they say that if we affirm these qualities of Allah Ta'ala, this is deficiency. And that's why they deny all the qualities that deal with the actions of Allah. They say He doesn't come, He doesn't, la yarda, He's not pleased, He doesn't become angry, He doesn't hate, He doesn't love. They deny all of this by believing that these matters are something new and like this. And the Shaykh said, هذا باطل. This is falsehood. Because we have a nas, a text for these. وهو باطل بنفسه. Yani, to the end of what the Shaykh is saying in this regard. Alright, for Friday, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, try to go over this filth matter here that he's talking about. For this the one that sometimes to try to express these terms in English, we got to come up with a uniform term regarding them. Uniform term so that the people are upon clarity regarding the issue. So upon the brothers, inshallah ta'ala, is to understand these issues that he talked about. When sifat dhatiyah, I'll be asking about examples of them. The two types of sifat dhatiyah, ma'nawiyah wa khabariyah. And I will try to provide for you, inshallah ta'ala, either from our sources of the brothers who have went over the work of Aqidah Wasittiyah and have translated portions of it. Some of the terminology they may have used that would be a benefit. Or even some books that have been translated already. Just on these particular aspects. Because the understanding of them is not what is a problem. But sometimes for the terminology, people get knocked lost in it or don't have a sound grasp of it. And even myself sometimes, there's no doubt, I have to go back over certain terms to make sure that, I understand them in the proper manner, in the proper sense. And to me, this is nothing except something that is a gift from Allah Ta'ala to be able to go back and reflect over the issues and and terms. They have books that explains these terms, walillah alhamd, but they're in Arabic. Nevertheless, I mean, for instance, the istilahat Tahawi uses, there's a book that explains that. The terms that Shaykh al-Islam uses in Aqidah Wasittiyah, there's a book that explains that. So just like any terms that you would have to memorize or at least understand, this is such as that. Don't get caught up into believing that this is not something that can be understood correctly. If I thought that we needed to remain going through the introduction of Sahih Bukhari, the three aspects of Tawheed, brother, what is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, what is brother Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, what is Tawheed Asma Sifat, without ever going into detail and ever going into the details regarding Aqidah, then I would never have decided to go through the book. There's no doubt that certain issues are certain above the heads of certain brothers. But that should not stop them from getting, as we say, zubda, and trying to get some clarity in this issue of Aqidah. And really, with the fundamental principles that he's giving us, these are all can be understood. What cannot be understood from the issues that he gave us? And from belief in Allah Ta'ala, is belief in how Allah Ta'ala has described himself. And then he brought evidences. And then we think we can't describe Allah Ta'ala because these are from the matters of the unseen. We cannot describe Allah Ta'ala from ourselves, but we must get it from a text because these are the matters from the unseen. We can't describe the blessings of the Jannah and the Ruh, the soul that's within our own bodies. How can you describe Allah Ta'ala? We'll be speaking without knowledge. What's hard to understand regarding that? So I hope, inshallah ta'ala, that will make it easier if we provide some type of printout of certain terms. But you're going to have to, buckle down. This is not one of those, hot type, less, enthusiastic type, upliftment type, inspirational type lections. Some knowledge, there'll be some melody, some boredom in at least, into the concepts of understood by many people, boredom in it to a degree, to understanding some terms, whatever. And that might be the hardness of our hearts also. I mean, that zeal that we get and get all pumped up over some of the madness that people be talking sometimes. Or some of the good things that people be talking, you find your heart start beating hard and you start feeling, enthusiastic and so on. So maybe this is something that we need to bring to the classes with Tawheed in the names and qualities of Allah Ta'ala. For the greatness of a knowledge is in accordance with who it is connected to, or what it contains or connected to. And there's nothing greater than Allah Ta'ala. So this is the greatest knowledge. This is the greatest knowledge. So in that regard, we ask Allah Ta'ala to make it easy for us, make us, as we say, die upon the iman of the Sahaba, the Aqidah of the Sahaba, the Aqidah of the Salaf Salih in this regard. Because all of these groups that he's going to mention, they're around us. They come in the masajid. We bump into them in the streets. Sometimes some of us shake their hands and smile in their faces. These beliefs are there. They still exist. They're still, other words, that people are more serious about you, or more serious than many of us. More serious than many of us about Aqidah. They study the Aqidah of I'tizal and Mu'tazila. Some of them are Sufis. They studied that stuff, man. They sat and they studied it. No one should be more serious than Ahl al-Athar. No one should be more serious than Ahl al-Athar. So, if you have some enthusiasm, save it for these type of durus. Save it for these type of durus. So like I said, we'll try to make it as easy as we can by getting translations of certain things and explaining certain terms as we go along. Some of it, alhamdulillah, is simple because our brothers who have preceded us in going over some of these works or translating some of these works have done the job for us, and the internet is there and other sources are there. But inshallah ta'ala, we will continue along this line bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. It's fi as'ila, you have a question? Faddal. No. There's certain names that one can have that you don't have to put the term abd in front of. But there are certain names that one should put abd in front of. There's a nice tape actually explaining the issue. It's by Sheikh Muhammad Bazmoul, and he's dealing with a particular chapter in Kitab al-Tawheed that is speaking about the names of Allah Ta'ala. So I don't know, maybe we can translate a portion of what that particular matter regarding your particular question. Better than me giving you what I have. Right? Jayyid, inshallah, just remind me on that point. Na'am. ما في شيء. يعني subhanallah. The ijma' ulama. I'm warning against Ahl al-Bidah and Ahl al-Athar. We had questions all over the place. Okay, go ahead. They consider Ahl al-Bidah. And depending on the whether or not their bidah reaches to the point of disbelief. And this is another issue he'll go over, inshallah ta'ala. Good questions from one brother. Tawqif. Tawqif means from Quran and Sunnah. Like you heard him, it says matters of da'wah are tawqifiyah. You've heard that, right? It means from the Quran. They have been connected to Kitab and Sunnah. You can't go beyond that. And you can't make up your own thing. Tawqif and Sama'. Same thing. Na'am. He will explain that too. Tashbih and Tamthil, he explained it more so. That Tamthil and Tashbih, which is making similarities on Allah and His creatures, have some things that are similar, and they have an area in which he separates them. So he explained that also, inshaAllah ta'ala. Some of this stuff we'll get to. Bidnillah. Na'am. Alaykum as-salam. Reiterate about the Jahmiyyah and extreme Mu'tazila. What do you mean reiterate? No, the extreme Mu'tazila and Jahmiyyah, what he said about them is that they denied the names of Allah Ta'ala. That the Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned sifat when he mentioned qualities. He said we believe in how Allah described Himself with the qualities. He didn't say what Allah names Himself with. And the Shaykh went to great length to explain why he did that. And that was two reasons, he said. One is that the names or there's no quality. The names, there's no name except that it includes a quality anyway. The other one was that most of this ummah didn't disagree on this issue of the names of Allah. No one really disagreed about this issue or went into this issue except the Ghulat al-Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila. The extreme of the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila. They're the ones who went and started denying the names of Allah. For the most part, this ummah has approved the names of Allah Ta'ala. That was his point. What about the attributes? Yeah, most of them went into the attributes of Allah Ta'ala and denied some of them, or denied all of them, or misinterpreted them, or played with them. And this is that which all these groups have in common. Jahmiyyah, the Ash'ara, the Maturidiyah, all of them have this in common. That they in somehow, shape, fashion, or form played with the names of Allah Ta'ala. Denied or rejected them or whatever. And that's why most of them are called together under one name, Mu'attila. The deniers. وإياكم. جيد خلصنا. ها نعم فضل. Did you screen them? You have some nuts out there. Huh? And he mentions, he said, he called them muharrifun, those who deviants, and Ash'ira and like this and others. We'll get into that in more detail in the next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, as we go on. Now you're talking about which groups deny the pleasure of Allah ta'ala. He called them those who are deviants, and he's going to get into that further as we go on, inshallah. Jayyid. I mean, Jahmiyyah, as with that name, you find some who, and Jahmiyyah nowadays are like the Mu'tazilah. The Mu'tazilah have taken on most of that. But you might have some Jahmis out there, I'm not sure. You might have a couple of Jahmis out there. But the Jahmiyyah come from anybody who denies all the qualities of Allah Ta'ala. And like I said, the ghulat amongst them deny even the names of Allah Ta'ala. So whoever denies all the qualities of Allah Ta'ala and all the names of Allah Ta'ala are Jahmiyyah or have some of the beliefs of the Jahmiyyah. I hope that explains as to whether or not, I mean, I don't know if you ran into a Jahmi lately, but I mean, this is their belief. What a bottle, nothing. He denies the qualities of Allah Ta'ala, all of them, and names? Oh, well, that's different. We'll get to that, inshallah ta'ala. He says, Wardi Muhammad. He said, I don't know, the man Jahmi. The man's a lot of things, but I don't know if he's Jahmi. Faddal. Yeah, I got a few. In the Arabic text we're at وَمِنَ الْإِيمَانِ بِاللَّهِ إِيمَانِ بِمَا وَصَفَ اللَّهُ بِهِ نَفْسَهُ وَبِمَا وَصَفَ بِهِ رَسُولُهُ. That's where we're at in the beginning of that. From Iman in Allah is to believe in Allah as Allah has described Himself and how the Prophet ﷺ has described Allah. That's where we're at. Warithuddin, Walisdeen, Wali, whatever you want to call them, is a mubtada'. Mubtada', and when tahqiq is made of it, like in the case of Turabi and others, you will probably not find anyone describing him as a Muslim but as a kafir. And the only thing preventing the issue, even though there have been some who have stated it from Tulab al-Ilm and like this, is doing tahqiq of it, actually taking it to the likes of Sheikh Ubaid, or actually taking it to the likes of any of those type of mashayikh, and dealing with it on that level and presenting his issue. But there's no doubt this man has said kufr. The whole point is that now is presenting the issue. But that he's a mubtadi', dal, mudil, munharaf, khabith, dajjal, is known. Like I said, we'll see inshaAllah ta'ala. نعم خير إن شاء الله. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا